Welcome everybody to today's webinar, Future Skills 2025, exclusive insights from DevSkiller and Statista. Before we begin, I got a couple of very quick housekeeping things to go over. So first of all, please get involved. We have some polls scheduled for today, a Q&A session later in this, the webinar. So please ask your questions. Voting the polls is going to help us a lot as we move along. Second of all, this webinar is being recorded, so if you can't make it to the end, or if you'd like to share it with one of your colleagues, we'll be sharing a link to the webinar recording tomorrow, so keep an eye out on your inbox for that. Those of you who are watching on LinkedIn, you'll also be receiving a recording link there as well. It'll be published on YouTube. And last but not least, we are going to be discussing the insights of the DevSkiller Future Skills Report 2025, which was produced in collaboration with Statista. So we strongly suggest you follow along with the report so you can, get a bit deeper understanding for the insights that we're going to go through. And yes, agenda before we get even further. So we're going to start off with meeting our panelists who are sitting here patiently, which I'll get to in just a moment. So we're going to introduce both of these guys. We'll give a bit of background about the DevSkiller Report 2025. Then we'll open up our extended discussion. So we'll get into the questions that we've got baked in. These are going to be based, as I said, directly on the report. And then at the very end, we will have time for a Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, fire your questions in there. But without further ado, I think it might be time to introduce our panelists. We've got starting with Tim. So could you just give us a few quick words about yourself, Tim?
Yes, hello. My name is Timothy Owens. I'm originally from Sydney, Australia, but I'm based in Berlin. I work for Statista. In fact, I'm Statista's senior lead researcher for technology and telecommunications. It's basically my job to demystify complex topics and help businesses understand the different trends that are driving growth and innovation within the tech sector. So happy to be here for the webinar.
Thank you very much. Tim and I share Sydney in common. We're both from Sydney, Australia, which we didn't know until we got started on this report. So it's very interesting. Right. Okay, Nick, can you give us a quick intro about yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Nicholas Jones. I'm head of customer success and support here at DevSkiller, where I've been for a little over the last half a decade. It sounds like a lot, but mostly helping customers succeeding with technical assessments in the beginning, and then moving over to skills management, skills-based organizations, things like this. I'm from the US originally, but I moved to Poland, so I'm in Warsaw, based in Warsaw, for the last 5 years.
Yep, awesome. Thank you very much. We have a lot to get through today. We're obviously going to be tapping into the insights that are in the report, the DevSkiller Report 2025, which we called the DevSkiller Future Skills Report 2025. So a little bit of background about what that report is. So as I mentioned, this report was published in collaboration with Statista. We've actually been working with Statista for probably the last 3 years, where we've been sharing our statistics and publishing them on the Statista platform. We had this idea to do a joint report. So we've actually published a version of this report. Statista published their own version of the report, which they published on their platform. Basically, the report itself, from our perspective, from DevSkiller, is it's the 7th business intelligence report from our platform. We take analysis of aggregated anonymized data from our 2 products. We have 2 different products at DevSkiller, which we've aggregated and compiled into some insights. But what's made this report really interesting is that we've expanded upon those insights and drawn a lot of insights from Statista and a diverse range of sources, which has sort of really created this awesome report, which we'll get to today, and we're going to share a lot of it, but actually there's so much that we can't get through all of it. There are actually 36 individual statistics, as I mentioned, a lot from DevSkiller, Statista, and a variety of other sources. The insights are varied for technical and digital skills insights, but they're handy for both HR and IT professionals. So this is why it makes it really unique, because it's got really great information for both of these very varying professions. It goes through 6 separate chapters. We're going to cover, I believe, all 6, but we have some we do a little bit more on in the webinar today. But we start off with the overview of the tech market landscape. There's a lot on the intersection of IT skills and AI, and we always finish these reports with market outlook and future predictions, which is how we'll end the webinar today. But we do have other chapters throughout this report, which we're going to get through today as well in our discussion. But before we do that and get to our first question, I would like to launch a poll, which I'm going to open now and launch on your screen. It's about critical skills, and obviously this webinar and this report is about the future skills for 2025. So the question here is, what do you see as the most critical skill for your organization to succeed in the next 5 years? We have technical skills like AI, cloud computing, cybersecurity, soft skills, problem solving, communication, adaptability, strategic skills like project management, cross-functional collaboration, and data analytics and machine learning proficiency. Or if you're not sure, you can always put not sure. And in today's webinar, we are going to cover hopefully a lot of these skills, which we've covered in the report as well. But I'll let the votes keep rolling through. It's about half of you. So if you're only just listening in, pop back over to Zoom and cast a vote. If you're watching us on LinkedIn, unfortunately, you can't vote, but I'll let it run for a little while longer. One more. Okay, that will do. I'll end the poll and share the results, which should be on your screen now. So what do you see as the most critical skill for your organization to succeed in the next 5 years? We have 44% with strategic skills like project management, cross-functional collaboration, 33% for technical skills, 22% for soft skills. So a very mixed bag of results there, which is telling, because that's exactly how we've structured the report and what we tried to do here with the different skills insights we've got packed inside. But I will open up the discussion and I will actually bring this first question to you here, Tim, which is from chapter 1, the tech market landscape. This graph actually here is about global IT spending. You find that on page 8 in the report if you're looking for it. But the question here is, how should businesses approach their digital strategies in 2025 to ensure they remain competitive in an evolving landscape?
Cool. Thank you, Justin. So look, to stay competitive in 2025, businesses are going to need to take a pretty proactive and flexible approach to digital transformation, focusing on key areas like technology investments, upskilling the workforce, emphasizing cloud infrastructure. You can see here from the chart that global IT spending is expected to hit an unprecedented $5.3 trillion in 2024, which is a huge opportunity for companies to use this growth to build resilience and seize emerging opportunities. So what can they do? I would say first, put cloud technologies and scalable solutions first. So investing in cloud technologies has become essential. Spending on public cloud services is projected to jump nearly 20% to reach $680 billion in 2024, according to Gartner, with infrastructure as a service alone growing by 30%. So for companies aiming to stay flexible, scalable, and efficient, these cloud-based models are crucial for helping to streamline operations, support remote work, strengthen business continuity, all of which are essential for handling potential economic challenges. Number 2, I would say stepping up digital skills development. So IT services, you can see here, is going to take up 31% of total spending, and software investment is going to grow 12% year on year, with demand for IT specialists like cloud engineers, software developers, and data analysts surging. So in order to stay competitive, businesses should prioritize upskilling current employees and recruiting new talent with specialized skills. Now, companies can also nurture digital expertise and career growth within their own teams, which will not only drive innovation, but also boost talent retention in an increasingly competitive job market. Number 3, I would say adopt data-driven decision-making and automation. So you can see the massive increase in data generation means companies need pretty robust data management and analytics capabilities more than ever. Tapping into advanced analytics and automation will mean that businesses can boost productivity, cut costs, and respond to customer needs better. So for example, investing in AI and machine learning can help drive database decisions, making these companies more competitive and agile, and allowing them to spot the market trends early, especially useful for navigating economic uncertainties, which a lot of the world still finds itself in. Number 4, I think exploring the anything as a service models will be useful for businesses. So pay-as-you-go models provide a lot of flexibility to adapt quickly to economic shifts while reducing upfront investment risks. Now, these models let organizations scale up or down based on real-time needs. So like cloud spending, as it continues to grow, transitioning to an anything as a service model should help companies minimize these costs and better manage resources to meet fluctuating demand. Number 5, I think it's essential for companies to strengthen IT infrastructure and cybersecurity. So with investments in data center systems expected to exceed $236 billion in 2024, according to the chart, businesses need to ensure their IT infrastructure is secure. So this will mean that digital transformation brings new cybersecurity risks, especially in hybrid and remote work settings, meaning strengthening cybersecurity protocols and implementing resilient data management practices will be essential for protecting these critical assets and building customer trust in an era of frequent digital threats. And lastly, I think investing in innovation in order to drive revenue streams. So I think we've seen from our Statista research that companies that invest in technology and innovation during economic slowdowns recover faster and experience stronger revenue growth. So with digital transformation spending expected to grow nearly 85% between 2022 and 2026, according to our Statista data, now is the time for businesses to capitalize on this momentum. So that would mean investing in new products, services, and business models that meet evolving customer expectations and creating fresh revenue streams.
Yep. Very interesting, and thank you for that. Packed with plenty of statistics. I expected nothing less from you. That's perfect. But it's telling with actually how we've structured up this report as well with the tech market landscape. We've covered lots of different data points here, and actually it's a perfect segue with your answer there, talking about the technical staff distribution, which brings me to my second question for you, Nick. Still in chapter 1 here, guys. And this report, this graph can be found on page 9. The question here for you, Nick, is how can companies ensure they are building the right skill sets in critical areas to stay ahead of future challenges?
So this report is pretty it's interesting, but also based on the pandemic and everything that happened, the push towards the cloud, DevOps, cybersecurity, all of these things are easily seen in hindsight, and they will continue as they are. So the beginnings, I would say, start with continuous learning and training programs. The initial acquisition of a skill should be through some educational manner, but then beyond that, you need to continue with mentorship and actually using the skills, right? So skill acquisition is not just reading about or having a talk or listening to a talk. You need to go in and use these skills. So continuous learning and training programs with continued mentorship. So identifying these mentors within your company who can mentor these skills. And beyond that, secondly, I would say creating clear career paths in these areas. So if you create these clear career paths, people can identify the skills needed to become these roles or work within these roles. And some of these skills will have crossover for other roles. So people that are working in development probably have some skills in cybersecurity, at least baseline, and likely have some development or DevOps. So cloud, right? So DevOps and cloud kind of go hand in hand because you have to have operations to develop in the cloud. And the other thing is crosses over from that is internal mobility. So once you develop these clear career paths and you can see the people within your company that have some skills, or the people can see, they can identify opportunities for them to move into these career paths and develop in these areas. So those are the main things I would say for building the right skill sets in these critical areas.
Yep, for sure. And I'll just add to that, I think one more thing to mention is visibility on skills as well. So this is why it's also very important to have clear visibility. So managing skills, mapping skills, that sort of thing. That's why it's really critical. Obviously something that we do at DevSkiller, but you can't really move forward without having the initial knowledge of what the skills are within your organization to know where you're going to develop them, as both you and Tim mentioned, seen here with the graph, cloud, containers, AI, where the technology is moving. So yeah, thank you very much for that answer there, Nick. Back to you, Tim. We're staying in chapter 1, but talking a little bit more about economic challenges here. We obviously have this graph here from Layoffs. FYI, this was courtesy of Statista, so thank you for adding this one into the report. The question here is, what can businesses do to mitigate the impact of economic challenges to maintain a strong talent pipeline?
Okay, yeah. Well, I'd say there's a number of different strategies that companies can focus on to navigate the current economic challenges, which, as you can see, have led to massive tech sector layoffs. So what can companies do to keep a strong talent pipeline in tech? Number one, invest in upskilling and reskilling programs. Again, I have lots of statistics that I'm going to throw at you, Justin.
Bring them. Love it.
Yeah. Okay, so in 2023, you can see the tech industry saw over 214,000 layoffs, yet the demand for tech skills only continues to grow. So US tech employment is projected to rise from 5.8 million in 2023 to nearly 7 million by 2033, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. So by prioritizing upskilling for current employees, companies can help keep their skills relevant while reskilling workers from non-tech areas. That's also a good way to bring in fresh talent into critical roles in, for example, AI, cloud computing, cybersecurity, fields where demand is still exceptionally strong. Number two, companies can create accessible learning, flexible learning opportunities. So I would say tech is evolving faster than traditional educational programs. So companies all over the world are reporting significant skills gaps because of this, particularly, and I mentioned it before, in cloud computing and AI. So I would say offering flexible, accessible training through online courses, workshops, and certifications will help bring in new talent and keep existing employees sharp. So, I mean, this approach also promotes internal mobility, which would also fill the skills gap quickly and keep teams on pace with the latest technology. Number three, I think companies can tap into diverse work pools or talent pools. So data that we have at Statista from Equinix shows that nearly 70% of reskilled tech workers come from backgrounds in fields like finance and insurance and business administration. So expanding recruitment to include candidates from non-traditional fields can help companies reduce dependency on external hires and broaden their talent pool in tech's emerging segments. So we can also see that a quarter of companies are struggling to hire for roles in AI, machine learning, and cloud computing, and for IT technicians. So recruiting talent from like with people with adjacent experience can be a smart, effective solution. Number four, I think companies can strengthen retention with competitive benefits. So as you can see from this chart, that tech sector layoffs have slowed significantly, dropping from just over 214,000 people laid off in the first half of 2023 to over 100,000 in 2024. Still high, but a reduction. And so, yeah, retaining the skilled tech talent is essential. So companies can offer competitive benefits, clear career progression, flexible work options, and attractive compensation packages, which I believe we've also included a number of charts about that in the report. This will help reduce overall turnover and build loyalty. Plus, companies with strong development programs also see higher employee engagement, which supports stability during uncertain times. And last, I think companies can proactively identify skills gaps or the gaps that are critical. So, for example, as I mentioned before, in 2025, according to data that we have, roles like IT technicians and cloud specialists will increase, but the shortages are still expected in AI and other technologies, emerging technologies like augmented reality and virtual reality. So I would say like regularly assessing emerging skills needs and offering early trainings in these areas should help to ensure that a company's workforce is ready to evolve with the latest tech advancements, which will, of course, in turn help those businesses respond quickly to tech trends that are coming up.
Yeah, it's very interesting there. Just to tie a bow on it, because obviously all the strategies you mentioned there have to go hand in hand. I think one interesting thing we mentioned last time around on the most recent webinar, we talked about the half-life of skills, particularly technical skills, and this is as short. The statistic published was, I believe, the World Economic Forum. They had it at 2.5 years, but the last time we spoke about a month ago, we're talking about some skills, technical skills, can be as short as six months. So within 6 months or after 6 months, this skill kind of isn't really necessary. You need to be adaptive to be able to reskill people into or build upon that skill as technology moves forward. So this is the pace that we're working with now with new technologies like AI, completely new roles being created out of nothing because of the way that technology is moving. So it has to be really a comprehensive effort in these areas: reskilling, upskilling, looking at your internal workforce, skill mapping and skills management. These sorts of things all need to go hand in hand to ensure that you're not going to feel the economic pinch from challenges in the future. So yeah, thanks. Yeah, Nick,
I was going to say, on that note of the half-life of skills, I think a generation ago, the half-life of skills was something like 30 years. So you can see the acceleration here, 33 years, a generation ago, and now 2.5 years to as low as 6 months. So yeah, this is something that is not changing. It's only going forward.
Going forward, yeah. On that, with the AI in particular, it's with OpenAI's user base, right? They were the quickest to get to 100 million, and they did it in something like a quarter of the time of the next closest competitor. I can't remember who it was, the next closest company, but it's just showing the pace that this is moving from the way that things moved in the past. It's just completely different. So, yeah, anyway, let's move forward. We're actually going to, oh, sorry, we've got to come over here. Move towards our second chapter, which is actually called Most Popular Tech Skills, which of course we've included in the report. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is our 7th business intelligence report we published on DevSkiller. It was annual, but now we kind of publish them a little bit more regularly. So it's probably in the last 5 years we've been doing this. So of course we have all the technical skills, the tech stacks, all the insights there that's included in the report. But for the first time, we've actually included report data on soft skills, which we collect from our tool called Talent Boost, which is our skills management tool. So rather than focus on the tech skills, Nick, I want to talk about soft skills here a little bit. So the question here for you is, how can organizations foster soft skills alongside technical expertise to create more adaptable teams?
Yeah, so when looking at this chart, it's easy to see why problem solving would be a very important skill within technical teams. Effective communication, though, is becoming more apparent as a relevant technical skill with the use of generative AI. If you cannot effectively communicate what your problem is, what you're trying to solve, if AI can't help you. So prioritizing skill development within soft skills, I think a lot of it will come from mentoring, which I mentioned in the previous question, but I think it's a very important one. With soft skills particularly, it's hard to learn these from, you can read about these things, but it's much harder to actually use these skills and learn these skills. So mentoring is a big one, and this can come from the top down, from the leaders. They can take courses, and then by training the team members, they are teaching and therefore learning more themselves. So they're improving their own skills by mentoring others. So I think that would be a big one. With soft skills in general, it's a difficult area, but yeah, the primary thing I would say here is mentoring would be the biggest advantage for soft skills, right? For problem solving in general, allowing teams to fail. So not fail on a critical business use case, but giving them projects that require critical thinking, require problem solving, and allowing them to resolve these and fail if necessary, because by learning problem solving, you will fail. Allowing them to fail, a safe space to fail while solving these problems will be beneficial for these teams. So these are the things that I would say prioritize with soft skills in general.
Definitely. Yeah, I had two quick points on that. So the fostering soft skills, one of the things that came to mind as you were answering the question there is there's a string of providers out there that do soft skill assessments as well. They do psychometric testing, soft skill assessments, sort of these quizzes and tests, and you can actually get a pretty accurate indication, both from a recruitment perspective. So looking for, like, if you're going to hire somebody, is it going to be a good fit for my team? Do they have the right soft skills that we're looking for the particular role? And also you can look at it in your existing workforce. If you're going to open up a new project or something like that, these assessment providers are a really great tool to have there for sure. And in terms of critical thinking, we talked about this. We had done a couple of webinars about AI in the past year, I guess. And one of the areas where people are always fearful about what AI can do to my job, and it's just gonna take over the world, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the things that AI really struggles with at the moment is critical thinking. So if anything, that a skill that people should develop is critical thinking, problem solving. These are the kind of things where AI is still a very long way, if ever, will actually have an impact on human work. So interesting stuff there. Yeah.
With the soft skill assessments, they're great, but they are culturally relevant. So a soft skill assessment provider must be normed on the cultures where they're used. So a soft skill assessment in Poland might be different than a soft skill assessment in the US or Germany or anywhere else. Yeah, so this is one thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's a caveat for sure. Absolutely. Okay, let's keep moving forward. And I do have our second of 3 polls, which I'm going to launch on the screen now, talking about the impact of digital transformation. So the question here is, which area of digital transformation do you believe will have the greatest impact on your industry by 2025? AI and automation integration, increased cybersecurity and data privacy, adoption of cloud-based solutions and infrastructure, expanding role of data analytics in decision-making, sustainability initiatives and green tech adoption, or if nothing that you think is there, you can also select other. And we will be moving along into the second half of our discussion here. We're going to start to get a bit deeper into skill proficiency, the intersection of AI and IT skills, which was a big part of the report. And we'll close things later in the discussion about some outlook questions and predictions before we wrap it up. I can see there's some votes. I will let it run a little bit longer just because it's only about 30% of you have voted. So please cast a vote. And then I will end the poll and share the results, which should be on your screen right now. Question being, which area of digital transformation do you believe will have the greatest impact on your industry by 2025? 43% of votes went to AI and automation integration. We have 29% of votes for expanding role of data analytics in decision-making, 14% apiece for adoption of cloud-based solutions and sustainability initiatives. So again, we have a very mixed bag of results here, but a clear winner with AI and automation. This is probably something, if we change the year to 2024, I think we probably would have had the same answer with AI being the hot topic at the moment. As I mentioned, we are going to be talking a little bit more about AI, but in a couple of questions' time. But before we get to that, Nick, I wanted to ask you a question here about skills development. Obviously, we have, as I mentioned at the top, we have two products at DevSkiller. We have Talent Boost, which is our skills management, skills development platform, which we collected a lot of the insights from that platform. And obviously, Talent Score, which is for coding assessments and technical assessments for developers. We've aggregated both of those sets of data. But this question here is a little bit from what we've collected from Talent Boost and skill proficiency. So I wanted to ask you the question about skills development. So what actions can organizations take to prioritize skill development across different IT roles?
Yeah, so you mentioned this earlier, but I think the first step for prioritizing skill development across different IT roles would be to identify what skills you have and the levels you have of these skills. And kind of connect them with the project completion rate, how the projects turn out, these kind of things. So metrics on the outcome of projects connected with the skills that you have within these areas. Then once you see if the outcomes are slower in one area, or maybe the outcomes aren't as positive for these projects, then that would be the area you want to prioritize. But also by looking at these skills, finding out what skills you have within these areas, and then you can see where skills are weaker within an organization by doing this. So this is back to mapping out the organization skills, whether you do it with a spreadsheet or whatever you need to do this. I mean, just use your expert's time wisely, find out what skills are within an area, and then you can go further with this process. So identifying the skills, and then defining what skills are in the area, find what skills the people have within this area, because just defining the skills won't tell you what individuals have. And then identifying which skills you need to prioritize based on that. So connecting these skills with projects, how the outcomes of these projects look, that would be my suggestion here.
Yeah, and of course, the way that we do it is we work closely with the skills expert per position. So when we create a job role in Talent Boost, we work with the skills expert to identify the skills that are necessary for that role, create the skill sets, etc. And then from this data, we can see, okay, this person has this level of skill, doesn't have this level of skill. Here's the skills gap. This is what we know as an organization or as a team that we need to develop. So let's focus on the training and learning in this particular skill so we can develop it and apply that to a project, right? So
yeah, exactly. And there's some overlap from IT role to IT role across companies, but it's not always the same. So a backend developer who uses .NET at one company might be close to a .NET developer in another company, but they usually use a lot of different technologies. So this is something you kind of need to do in order to prioritize what you want to develop.
Yeah, which it's a I guess a bit of a misconception, because the skills-based organization, this is obviously a huge movement at the moment. I think there's probably a little bit of misunderstanding that there's just some universal level of skills that if I'm a marketer or I'm a salesperson or I'm a developer, those are your skills and that's what it is. But it's, as you said, it's completely different. It's why you have to work closely with each organization that we onboard, or any company that does what we do on boards, because they may be similar, but they're not exactly the same. You can't just give the same person the skills. So it's not going to work unless you really sit down and identify that. AI is another thing that people talk about. Oh, you can use AI to do this. AI is a great tool, but it can spit you out 50 different skills that, are completely unrelated, right? Because it's just working on itself. So
it's using general knowledge. Yeah. So it would not be as specific as you would like it to be for your organization. Like it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but hit the nail on the head. I think that it really starts with the visibility and identifying first and foremost what skills you have to understand which skills you need to develop. That's when you factor in all these additional learning and stuff like that. So thank you very much for that, Nick. I'm going to bring it back to you, Tim, for the next couple of questions, because obviously
sure.
having published and your report on AI on Statista, you did a whole entire report just before this one on AI. We also included a bunch of those statistics, which we're very grateful for in this report. But this question here is from chapter 5, which we call the intersection of IT skills and AI. And the question is, what are some strategies companies can use to balance AI adoption while maintaining an efficient workforce?
Cool. Great question. And yes, it's a topic that I've been focusing a lot on for the past 2 years. In fact, we have a couple of Statista webinars about it, and 20 plus reports on AI and the different all the different areas of AI, plus a Statista white paper on it. So yeah, I've got, again, a lot of statistics that I'd like to share with you and a lot of insights. So I would say, like, to find the right balance between adopting AI and maintaining workforce stability, companies need to benefit from they should benefit from a multifaceted strategy that focuses on reskilling, selective automation, and nurturing uniquely human abilities like the soft skills that Nick was just sharing before. So I would say, number one, companies need to invest in reskilling and upskilling programs. So we all know AI is reshaping job roles, reducing demand for some and creating more demand for others. Now, according to the World Economic Forum's 2023 Future of Jobs report, they highlighted that skills in AI and big data will be critical, with 60% of companies anticipating a rise in demand for these skills by 2027. So by supporting employees with focused training, companies are able to transition people from at-risk roles to emerging roles. So think data analysts, AI management, prompt engineering, and this approach should help businesses retain talent while meeting the evolving needs of these AI-driven roles. Number two, I think we should focus on more, human-centric roles. So we know that AI can handle repetitive tasks with ease, but I think it falls short of in areas that require human insight, empathy, and creativity. So many companies are already capitalizing on this balance. For example, 65% believe that big data will lead to more job creations, especially in roles that require human judgment, according to the World Economic Forum. So encouraging employees to build skills in critical thinking, these are the soft skills that we were discussing before, and interpersonal communication not only differentiates the workforce, but strengthens the partnership between AI tools and human abilities. Number three, I think we need to implement responsible and phased automation. So rather than automating broadly, I think it's wise to start with specific low-risk tasks that offer high returns, like data entry or document processing. This will free up employees to take on more strategic work. So research that we have from Goldman Sachs suggests that generative AI alone could automate around a quarter of tasks that are currently being done in the US and European Union. So we need to make sure that we choose tasks carefully that minimize disruptions, but help maximize productivity. What else can we do? So foster innovation with cross-functional AI teams. So combining the expertise of AI specialists with insights from team members across different functions could help ensure that AI solutions meet both business and employee needs. So a survey that we have from Deloitte shows that 94% of business leaders consider AI essential for the future. which would mean that integrating these cross-functional teams makes sense. And this would also blend kind of like the ethical considerations with the practical business needs. What else? I think we can use AI to enhance productivity, not replace humans. So I would say we need to think of AI as a tool that can help us, not replace employees. So for example, and this is an insight from the report actually, that productivity tools like GitHub Copilot and ChatGPT, which are used by 44% and 82% of developers worldwide, respectively, enables employees to focus on more creative and strategic aspects rather than boring routine tasks. So I would say this this approach should help to keep teams more engaged and allow them to channel their energy into more creative and complex problem-solving tasks. And lastly, I would say, I think companies, again, it's something that I've mentioned a number of times already, that companies need to really kind of assess what the workplace needs are, especially because of the impact of AI. So according to, again, from the Future Jobs Report from the WEF, 75% of companies are expected to be using AI by 2027. So I would say frequent evaluations from organizations to understand exactly where AI is and where it can complement tasks, and where necessary, take them over is essential. So adjusting these workplace strategies for companies will ensure that I think jobs are stable and there's balancing kind of job stability and growth for the business. So yeah, I mean, in short, I think AI can help with productivity, but we need employees, we need humans to work in roles where they can apply empathy, critical thinking, and creative problem solving to tasks.
Yeah. I was going to say a specific example, not particularly related to AI, where job roles are changing. So this old job role is not really relevant. Obviously, we can go back further with the bank teller and things like this, or the horse carriage. But within tech, currently, the move to the cloud is pushing. So you have system administrators who work on the servers within a company. They keep all the data in house. They do everything, and they have their own internal systems. They move to the cloud, and these people have a lot of overlap with DevOps roles. So you can move these people from one role to the other. This other role is becoming redundant. You move them into a new role. And by doing that, you would need to know that they have these skills. So this is, just tying back to identifying what skills can help with that.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting stuff. I think it just speaks to the level of data and reports and stuff that you mentioned at the beginning. I think anyone listening to the webinar, if you want to stay close to the ears to the ground with everything that's going on with new tech and AI and stuff like that, just go to visit Statista and see what the recent report they published, because as you mentioned, you've probably done 5 or 6 in this year alone on this particular thing.
Yeah, quite big ones as well. Yeah, about AI in the future of work.
Yeah.
Another report called The Quest for AI Dominance, where we kind of answer questions about how the AI industry has evolved over recent years. Obviously, the one on work is about displacement and what businesses can do. I mean, I kind of gave the key takeaway before. I said, which is, AI is I like to see AI as our creative collaborator, not our replacement. So of course, there's going to be disruption. That's normal. People are going to reskill. Companies need to help people reskill so we can move people from those old roles to the kind of future roles. So I would expect some turbulence and some change, but not necessarily all negative.
Yeah, and generative AI can help with that reskilling and upskilling, I think. So acquiring skills will probably be a little bit faster and move faster with the generative AI, because having a personal tutor, essentially, you can ask questions of, and then it can answer, even though you may have to research the answer. Still is much more useful than just reading about a topic.
For sure. But at the end of the day, it needs to be viewed as a tool to alleviate sort of messy work, at the very least, alleviate messy work, so you can focus on more important things that require critical thinking, these sorts of things that we mentioned earlier. It really should be viewed as an opportunity to further as you said, productivity rather than be afraid that this is going to steal my job. If you have the mentality that's going to steal your job and you don't figure out a way to work alongside AI, this is something we've talked a lot about on our webinars. That's a recipe for disaster. If you just, I'm afraid I'm not going to do anything, but if you take a proactive approach, work closely with it, learn how you can use it, learn prompt engineering, these sorts of things, that's only going to be beneficial for you in your career in the long run. So, yeah, thank you, both of you there. We are going to stick with the topic with AI and stick with you, Tim, because obviously this is a lot of this stuff is from your report that you mentioned before. This question here is looking a little bit more at industries impacted by AI. So the question is, what are the key industries likely to be impacted by AI, and how can companies prepare their workforce for these changes?
Okay, cool. So we're seeing massive AI adoption across multiple industries. You can see here from this 2024 McKinsey & Company chart shows that AI adoption in 2023 was highest in technology, media, and telecommunications, especially in areas like product development at 44%, marketing and sales at 36%, and service operations at 36%. So I would say as AI continues to reshape the workforce, companies are going to need to obviously stay competitive, take full advantage of the potential that AI brings. I would say the industries that we've identified, in addition to this, seeing the most impact from AI include obviously the tech sector, which is leading the way with AI, where we see AI in product development, data analytics, customer service. A big trend here, which Nicholas mentioned, is generative AI. So the rise of generative AI, multimodal generative AI this year in particular was the big thing, with I would say like a majority of people in tech and creative industries like marketing professionals now using it to create content, optimize ad campaigns and whatnot. Healthcare is another big industry that we see. So there's massive transformative AI applications in things like diagnostics, patient data management, medical imaging, and data that we have from Stanford University's 2023 AI Index report shows that private AI funding in healthcare reached $92 billion in 2022, which is kind of we'll see in the coming years. I think that was the sector with the most investment of that year. And so we'll see a lot of
I was going to say probably on the small side now, if we look at 25, 26, 27, this number's probably going to quintuple, I guess. So yeah.
Exactly. And we're going to see a lot of developments being rolled out in the coming years in the healthcare industry. I would say financial sector, financial services is also using AI for things like credit risk modeling, anti-money laundering, fraud detection, because AI's predictive analytics capabilities are also helping with things like financial planning. And then kind of where it's impacting, but in a negative way, I would say jobs in administrative and legal sectors face quite high automation risks right now. So this would be like roles, especially focused on data entry or document processing. We can see that we have Goldman Sachs data estimating that up to 300 million full-time jobs globally could be affected by AI-driven automation. Yeah. And according to the World Economic Forum, again, I'm going to draw from data points from their Future Jobs Report. They showed that AI machine learning is creating new demands. Global IT leaders are expecting to see an increase of 75 in the need for AI and machine learning expertise grow by 75% and big data analytics by 80%. So I would say these are, the roles that these are the areas where AI is going to be impacting various industries. I would also like to add kind of something that Nick was drawing upon before, and also from the WEF, we're seeing that in terms of soft skills, companies are expecting people, basically, we're wanting people with more cognitive and analytical skills. So apparently 60% of companies are anticipating people with strong cognitive and analytical skills. So you might not necessarily have the technical ability right now, but if you've got the kind of cognitive ability and you're interested and you're wanting to learn, then you can reskill and and change the direction. And I guess that's something that a lot of people in white collar professions, office workers are going to have to undergo.
Yeah, definitely. I think it reminded me that last point there a little bit of an analogy which we talk about when we talk about reskilling and upskilling internal mobility. You shouldn't look at your career as I mean, in days gone, we used to look at a career as a ladder. You just climb a ladder and you go upwards. But really, you should look at a career as a climbing wall, like a rock climbing wall, which has multiple different ways in which you can scale and progress your career. So this is why these initiatives, first and foremost, having the willingness to learn something else and having the desire to learn, but more importantly, working for an organization that has the infrastructure in place to help you learn, help you progress your career, which in turn benefits the organization with changing, technology needs and technology requirements, et cetera, et cetera. So, but yeah, it's an interesting.
There's another statistic actually that we have in this report, and it's here. So according to a 2024 Stack Overflow survey, 30% of developers cite a lack of training and policies as barriers to AI adoption in their companies. So I would say executive support and structured training programs by companies can go a very long way in helping with the transition.
Yeah, definitely. We better move forward because I'm just being conscious of time. And this is our second to last question, actually. So for all of you joining, if you do have any questions for our panelists that you'd like to ask, that Q&A box is open. If you think of something afterwards and you don't want to ask it live, you can email that to us at hello@devskiller.com. We'll be happy to take in any questions. We can respond to that. But this question here for you, Nick, is taken from the data from chapter 6, which we look at the tech market outlook and key takeaways. We're looking at a graph here for fastest growing and fastest declining jobs between 23 and 27. The question here is about upskilling. We've touched on it a little bit throughout the discussion, but how should organizations prioritize their upskilling efforts to ensure they're preparing their teams for the future?
So to think about this question, you would really need to look at it from your industry and your business perspective, because a company, say you're a software house and you're developing software for other companies, whenever cryptocurrencies and blockchain was popular, you probably wanted to move in this direction. So as the hype train grows for some technology, it's a good area for your business to focus. With automotive right now, they're going through these transformations where a lot of the driving is partially automated. So you have this driving assistance and all of these things. So these companies would want to focus in these engineering, these type of things. So the integration of the engineering of these automated driving and driving assistance, things like that into the car. So it really is dependent on what your industry is, what your business is, what you need to stay competitive within your area, right? Because some companies, the way they do things, certain areas is fine. You don't need to change anything. So you maybe want to upskill, moving to the web. Maybe you need to build a mobile app. You obviously need to add a mobile development team, right? But if you don't need a mobile app, it's not relevant for you. So it's really industry and company perspective. You need to look at it from your industry and your business, right? This is the lens you need to view this. Obviously, keeping an eye on trends. So maybe there is some AI that's developed in the near future that would be very beneficial for your business. You need to keep an eye on these things. As a leader, especially, you need to look into these things that can help your team work faster, be more productive, add value to the company. But overall, it's very industry specific and business specific. This kind of prioritization. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, but as you said, using the available statistics and data that's out there, the trends that are out there, courtesy of great places like Statista, it's definitely a step in the right direction. I will keep moving forward, just so that we make sure we get everything within the hour. But I will which brings us to our very last poll of the day, talking about challenges in preparing your workforce for the future. So the question here is, what is the biggest challenge you face in preparing your workforce for the future? You or your organization faces in preparing your workforce for the future. Bridging the technical skills gap, retaining and motivating talent in a competitive market, aligning training programs with rapidly changing technology, balancing AI and automation with human job roles, budget limitations for reskilling and upskilling, or if there's nothing there, you can also select other. And I can finally see some votes rolling through, so thank you for that. There was a bit of a lag, I think, from Zoom. Again, if you're watching on LinkedIn, I apologize. We always have our webinar streaming there, but you can always sign up on Zoom as well, so you can partake in these next time around. I'm going to let it run a little bit longer because it's a little under 20% of you have voted. So let me just let it roll for a bit. Thank you for casting a vote. As I said before, if you're joining on another listening in, just pop back over to Zoom and cast a vote. And then this will lead us into our final question where we're talking about Outlook. But I will end the poll and share the results, which should be visible on your screen now. So what is the biggest challenge you face in preparing your workforce for the future? A resounding 80% of you voted for balancing AI and automation with human job roles. 20% retaining and motivating talent in a competitive market. That's an interesting combination of votes. Obviously, we touched a lot on the balancing AI and automation, but at the end of the day, talented people are still going to be talented people, and retaining these people through initiatives like reskilling and upskilling, career learning opportunities is always going to be of great importance. So thank you for voting on those polls there. And I'll just bring us back to my second screen here, which leads us to our final question. I'm going to ask this to both of you, but I might start with you, Nick, and then I'll go to you, Tim, next. But the question here is, how should organizations approach talent development to stay competitive in a rapidly changing tech landscape?
Again, back to what I said before, stay abreast of your competitors, what's going on in your industry, what's going on in the area that you work in, or your business operates in, and then focusing on the areas where you can stay competitive with these, and using the talent you have within. So identifying these people who are willing to learn, who are quick to learn, and putting them up for the company to see and praising them, so that the culture can spread within the company, right? Mentoring programs, continuous learning, all of these things are relevant. So these are the main things I would say to focus on. Yeah. So with soft skills specifically, I would say if you have some primary soft skills, sorry to before you go, the soft skills, you can incorporate them into your company values. So if everyone knows this is something that is valued in the company, you can become part of your culture to improve these specific soft skills.
Yep. Tim, what about you?
It's a great question because it kind of summarizes a lot of the things that Nicholas and I have been talking about. So I would say like the trends now impacting talent development today. We have digital transformation. Again, going back to the first statistic that we showed, global IT spending is going to rise by 7.5% in 2024, hitting $5.3 trillion with big jumps in software and cloud technologies. So, as companies get more serious about going digital, it's going to change the game for talent development and talent demands. Then we've got, of course, as people answered in the poll, we've got AI disrupting the workforce. And that leads on to skills demands are changing because of that. Again, we talked about the WEF's Future Jobs Report, that skills like cognitive flexibility, technical literacy, also from the chart that we have in the report from DevSkiller about soft skills. And we have to remember that massive talent gaps remain. We mentioned a few of them before, especially areas like IT, cloud computing, AI, machine learning. So addressing these skills gaps through upskilling and reskilling is going to be more important than ever. Again, what can we do about that? We mentioned a few of them before in terms of effective talent development. We have encouraged continuous learning. Platforms like DevSkiller, great for that, right? So creating a culture that promotes learning and development within organizations, encouraging employees to do training programs, online courses, things like that, I think are going to be essential. Prioritizing reskilling and upskilling, upskilling initiatives, especially rolled out by companies, or just taking your own initiative and doing them yourself.
For sure.
I think what else? These are the big ones. Collaborating with educational institutions, perhaps, to create tailored courses for your company and your industry needs, might be a big one as well. So again, all these things mean, like what I'm trying to say is that companies and individuals need to be proactive when it comes to talent development.
Absolutely.
I just thought of another thing that our CEO developed a short test to see digital readiness for people. So you can take the test, and it has some, slightly technical, but it's not quite technical that you would need some deeper knowledge. It's more of how you think. And developing something like this internally to use for employees that might have their jobs affected. So you can see if they would be the type of person, the type of thinker who can develop in this area, this direction, be useful as well.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. All right. If I'm not mistaken, I don't believe there are any questions in the Q&A, but that's completely not a problem. As I mentioned before, you can fire questions into us by email at hello@devskiller.com. Again, if you're on LinkedIn and you wanted to ask a question, that would be more for you guys there. But since there are no questions, we are going to finish slightly early, but that's not a problem. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank all of you for joining. As I mentioned, the DevSkiller Future Skills Report 2025 is available on our website. We'll be sure to include a link to that in the email that we'll send you with the recording to this webinar that you can obviously watch again or share with colleagues. But I also really want to take time to say a big thank you to both Nick, obviously working with me, DevSkiller, and does these webinars all the time with me, but particularly you, Tim, with Statista's involvement with the report. Thank you for agreeing to do this with us. It's been huge for us. We're very grateful and we're really proud of the report that we've put out. So thank you both of you for taking the time to do the webinar today and for helping us create this awesome resource. We hope it's beneficial for those who've joined today.
Yeah, so, you're welcome. And I think the report that we've published together, I think it adds really a lot of value for people who work in HR departments, people who work in the tech sector who are looking to change their job or they're unemployed, they're looking for something. I think for business stakeholders, for all types of people, there's really a lot of value that we've created in this report. And the response so far that I've heard from people is very positive. Again, coming from a wide range of people across the tech landscape. So
you could probably go all the way back to university students trying to figure out what they should focus on after university, right?
Exactly. Even
what are the future changes? Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. I do have a question here, but it might be tricky for both of you. Do either of you want to take a stab at this question? What certifications are essential to adapt to this evolving landscape with AI, low code, and no code on the rise? Does anything spring to mind from either of you? Otherwise, what we'll do is we'll take note of this one and we'll be sure to share the answer in the follow-up email. I think that might be better.
Well, I would say just with the AI or the low code, no code. So there are different tools that do this. So you would need to look into which tool you want to focus on rather than just low code, no code as a whole, because it's a, different products do different things. So this is what I would say we're focusing on these. Investigate the different products that are used for AI or for low code, no code, and then find out which one is either, if you're looking for a job in this area, look for the most in demand, probably would be the best bet, and then focus on that, whatever certifications they offer there.
Yeah, I think it just reminded me as well. It was Jeff Wilson who we did a whole series of webinars with before. He's very passionate about AI and HR. He's a firm believer in Udemy and these sorts of free courses out there that have a lot of often free, but some are very cheap courses available for AI, stuff on prompt engineering and these sorts of things, which can be really beneficial. But again, I think it would be looking into what is the skills that are sort of really relevant for your current role or the role that you want to work towards, and then look at what's out there. Udemy, there's LinkedIn Learning, there's like a stack of these sort of free certifications and courses out there that I think are just going to get even more developed as this technology.
I can also add, like if you're kind of starting fresh, maybe you're not so technical, like you want to learn a little bit more, you just want to kind of get all the basics done for AI, which would actually put you ahead of 90-something% of people because people are winging it. Really, like I'm just going to look over here at some of my resources that I've saved just to rattle off a few. I mean, of course, you've got Google have lots and lots of different AI courses, generative AI courses, courses about prompt engineering for Gemini, which is their generative AI large language model. You have Microsoft also offering courses in Copilot, and so these are just basically the most basic skills that you can actually do to kind of brush up. You might not be going into a technical position, but it'll help you navigate the workplace. OpenAI have a number of their courses as well, so they've got courses on prompt engineering. We have deeplearning.ai. So that's a hub for all types of different AI learning courses, prompt engineering for developers, and all types of things like that. So, and then of course you can go to NVIDIA or So NVIDIA have a lot of courses, basic ones like generative AI explained, building building small models and using their technologies. Well, I'm sure Meta have similar courses, or I haven't looked into Meta's courses specifically. So there's a lot of free resources and also, of course, paid courses that you can do as well. But I think someone that doesn't know too much, just doing some of these basic courses and basic to intermediate courses is going to put you really ahead of the pack.
There's another one, Andre Karpathy, who worked at OpenAI and a few of the other big AI companies, has a zero to hero neural networks, where he lays out from the very basics of how neural networks work and goes deeper. If you're looking for the technical side of things, that would be useful for you.
Awesome. Okay, we should end the.
I was going to say one more thing. Using the courses is great, but take the things that you learn and use them in something outside of these courses. So if you don't use them, you will never retain this information that you learn from these courses. So
yeah, in and out. Yeah, it's
exactly.
like cramming for a college exam. So
exactly, it's gone.
Yeah, in one day, out the next. Okay. Anyway, I should wrap it up here. As we are a little bit over time now, but thank you again, everyone, for joining, and thank you very much, Tim and Nicholas, and hope to see you all next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.